Today, we reveal to Kenyans a clandestine plot by the outgoing handshake government of Uhuru and Raila to illegally mortgage our ports of Mombasa, Lamu, and Kisumu to a foreign country. In a secret deal, under the guise of an economic cooperation agreement with the United Arab Emirates, and which epitomizes grand corruption, Uhuru has assented to a ripoff that will see a foreign, privately registered entity, Dubai Port World (FZE), take over these key national infrastructural assets. And we shall be releasing a letter signed by the CS Treasury to this entity. Indeed, why would a government with only less than 5 weeks to leave office hurriedly and secretly auction the operations, development, redevelopment, and management of all our ports to a foreign entity? An accountable government should confide in Kenyans why national strategic and security assets are being handed over to a foreign entity. The government should also tell Kenyans why it is risking national security in a clandestine deal at the behest of seemingly vested local interests in the offshore company. Under the ill-disguised economic cooperation agreement, supposedly signed on March 1st, 2022 by the CS Treasury, Mr. Ukur Yatani, Kenya will cede ownership and control of not only the 3 ports, but also supporting infrastructure at the ports in the hinterland. It is shocking that Dubai Port will take over the development, operations, management, and expansion of transport logistics service in the Republic of Kenya. The deal was mooted in a meeting in Mombasa, disguised as Raila's birthday party, attended by outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, and the governor of Mombasa, Ali Hassan Joho, amongst other state capture agents who are the principal beneficiaries of the deal. Kenyans will also remember that soon thereafter, the trio made several trips to Dubai jointly and severally.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, welcome to our YouTube analysis. We talk about port operations, we talk about logistics and supply chain, we talk about warehousing, we talk about the transport chain, we talk about the rail transport system, we talk about the road networks, we talk about even pipeline. All these are connectivity and linkages from the port of Mombasa to the interior destinations and vice versa for export cargo. Whatever we have shown on the clips before we start this analysis is more of political in nature, and this channel will not be dwelling on any political issues, but only we will just do observation in the fact that the current government opposed privatization of the port of Mombasa when they were still in the opposition. And now they are in the government. We can now see they have moved very fast, very speedily to advertise for bidders for the privatization of the same port which they opposed while they were in the opposition. But that is for political analysis and for political analysts to delve into that area which we are not very much conversant with. Here we deal purely upon professional issues in terms of logistics and supply chain. Now, it's now reality that the port of Mombasa is heading towards privatization, the port of Lamu, all the way up to the port of Kisumu. And that means there is bound to be so many changes, so many drastic changes in the due process of privatizing this. It's quite clear now that the port of Mombasa is going to turn again into a landlord port. And landlord port, for those who don't know, is structured in such a manner that it becomes a regulator. of port operations. It owns basic infrastructure and hands over privatization of cargo handling services to a private operator. Previously, when KPA was a landlord port, there was a subcontracted cargo handling operator called Kenya Cargo Handling Services. And KPA was paying per ton handled by the subcontracted organization. Be that as it may, the previous cargo handling operator was also quasi-government. It was a parastatal. It was owned fully by the government. And therefore, KPA being a landlord port and the cargo operator was also a public operator, made it very clear that the entire chain and logistics were entirely under control of the public service. Sorry for that. Now, with privatization having been advertised for bidding, it means the process for privatization has commenced in earnest. But what you must also look back and consider is that, politics aside, it's quite clear that all these processes of advertising for bidding, RFQs for requests for quotations, are mere formalities. And by the real players, the real private operators have already been identified long, long, long ago. I was privileged to visit the port of Jebel Ali, which is run by DP World, and had the privilege of being hosted by their strategic manager, who gave us a good presentation on their strategic plans for most of the ports in the Indian Ocean region and most of the African ports. At the time, I was at the port of Jebel Ali. DP World was running the port of Berbera. They were in the DP World was also in Djibouti. They were running Jebel Ali. And therefore, from their strategic plans, it's quite clear that they would like to get involved in almost all the African ports, or specifically the Indian Ocean ports, which goes to the ports of Dar es Salaam, the port of Mombasa, port of Lamu, port of Somali, Djibouti, Berbera, right through the Red Sea to North Africa and the Mediterranean. With that kind of control, then you can be sure that the strategies laid down by the DP World will not be in conformity with Kenya's strategic plans, Kenya's Vision 2030, Kenya's Big Four agenda from the previous regime, and now the Big Six agenda for the current regime. It will not be, in fact, it will be contradictory to the government's policies and its vision for the future. But let's come down now to the impact of DP World, because for sure, I can bet on it, DP World will be the front runner in competing for control of the port operations, both in Lamu, Mombasa, and even Kisumu. And DP World comes with very strategic plans, which not only includes the port operations, it also includes the supporting infrastructure. What I really mean is the transport corridors that serves the ports. In Africa, we have got the Central Corridor. It starts and ends at the port of Dar es Salaam. We have the Northern Corridor, which starts and ends at the port of Mombasa. We have got the Lapset Corridor, which starts and ends at the port of Lamu. And then we have the Southern Corridor, which starts from and ends from the port of South Africa, both Durban, Cape Town. And all these are linked to the inland destinations, all the way through to the Central Africa region, the Great Lakes region, And therefore, competition for these corridors, for fluidity of movements of cargo through these corridors, and addressing critical issues of non-tariff barriers will determine how attractive a port is. I've said in this column and in this analysis before that the attractiveness of the port today and tomorrow will no longer be the efficiency of the port in terms of key performance indicators like vessel turnaround time, like the cargo dwell time, like the truck turnaround time. It is mostly be based on the attractiveness of the corridors, transport corridors that are linked to these ports. Because the cost of shipment of these ports are determined clearly on the cost of how cargo moves from its source to the port and from the port to the inland destinations. All these are lump sum costs that determines the cost of shipment through these ports. And therefore, once we have a big player like the DP World running the port of Mombasa, remember the port of Dar es Salaam is also being targeted by the DP World. Already they have got a presence in the port of Djibouti. So it is quite clear therefore that DP World most likely will be carrying home the trophy for all these ports that covers the Indian Ocean and most likely the East Coast. Where does this leave Kenya Ports Authority, Lamu Port, and the Port of Kisumu? Where does it leave the government policies in terms of creation of employment? Because these public operators will definitely come with the automation systems that will prove to you, like I visited the port of Jebel Ali, there's hardly people on the ground, like we have at the port of Mombasa. We don't have clerical functions. Equipment are being automated. Equipments are automated. Documentation processes are all automated. From vessel planning, vessel and berth planning, all the way to cargo deliveries, the boat gate operations, all these end to end. The 4 components of terminal operations are all automated. These 4 components are the ship operation, the key transfer operations, the storage receiving operations, and the boat gate operations, deliveries, and acceptance operations. All these are automated in most of the advanced ports of the world. Kenya is still a third world country, yet to develop most of these automated systems to certain levels that will ensure that we have got non-human interventions in all the port operations, like I witnessed at the port of Jebel Ali, run by the DP World. KPA today employs more than 7,500 employees, and indirectly, more than, in fact, the entire region, the coastal region of Mombasa, the ports, both Lamu, Mombasa, Shimoni, all the way, provides employment to most of the people with this region. Is the biggest employer, and therefore once it falls in private hands and downsizing of employees becomes the plans, then you can be sure that the entire economic infrastructure of the coastal region will be greatly affected. But also let's look at the positive aspect of privatization. Like I said earlier, and I've always repeated this, that the most efficient and the biggest ports of the world are public. They are public service, just like the port of Mombasa. So what reason would we really give for placing such strategic and efficient port in the hands of private operators? Or, to make it worse, foreigners? It's a question that needs to be debated, and this is a question that I throw to you viewers. And let me get also your opinions and your comments at the comment section below, so that we're able to have a clear picture on what really would be the best advantage now that we have reached at this stage where privatization is imminent. If you are here on the first time on this channel, please subscribe. I know some of you have been viewing, but very many of you have not subscribed. I've looked at the numbers of viewers and looked at the numbers of the subscribers, and they don't really conform. They're disproportionate. And therefore, I'm urging all those people who are coming here on the first time and those who have also been viewing my channel, please subscribe. Click on the notification bell so that we get it real time every time we throw out a new video. Also, like, do a thumbs up, click on the thumbs up, so that, and share also, so that we are able to reach a bigger population and a bigger audience on this channel. So the benefits of privatization is the automation systems that cut costs, that reduces the timelines. Processes are real time. The business processes are real time. And ambiguity is eliminated completely. Double processes are eliminated completely. And revenue leakages are also eliminated. The systems are able to do things in such a manner that it covers all the areas there's likely risks of revenue leakages. So these are the advantages that you'll get when you run a fully automated end-to-end systems for port operations. But also another advantage comes up with the process of privatizing. And this is a challenge to the local entrepreneurs. This is a challenge for the local investors, so that we can also protect resources, natural resources, or developed infrastructural resources of this country, and put it in the hands of indigenous Kenyans. I'm urging all those investors who can pull resources and also bid for this privatization. Kenya has got all the necessary skills to run port operations. As we speak right now, KP has got all that it takes. KP has got the infrastructure up to date, 100%. KP has got equipment. KP has got skilled and trained labor. KP has got the business processes that can make this port one of the most efficient ports in Africa. They only need to pull the act together, be task-oriented, result-oriented, and they'll quickly and easily deliver on the performance and the efficient performance of the port. So I'm urging all the private operators to take advantage of this request for quotations for bidders for private operations of all these ports. Instead of sitting back and waiting for foreigners to come and take charge of our natural resources. The port of Dar es Salaam, the entire process had started, but apparently the DP World at the port of Dar es Salaam has come across strong headwinds. The clergy has opposed certain clauses in the contract for DP World for the port of Dar es Salaam. And the Attorney General of the Tanzanian government has withdrawn the entire process for privatization, citing the risks of losing sovereignty of Tanzania's natural resources to foreigners, compromising on the security of the nation by placing such strategic facility in the hands of foreigners. This has been challenged by the Tanzanian clergy, by the Tanzanian political opponents, The opposition has been very strongly in opposition of the privatization of the port of Dar es Salaam, which is already being in the process of being handed over to DP World. You might also want to know what happened at Djibouti when it appeared that there was a lot of conflict between the government of Djibouti, the DP World, and also the Chinese operator. And apparently the DP World left the port of Djibouti. You need to find out what. During the process for tendering, you must do what you call due diligence. When you do due diligence, you need to know some references. You want to know some backgrounds of some of the bidders. DP World bid for 6 ports in the United States, but the federal government put a stop to privatization of the ports to DP World. Can we also find out what exactly caused the federal government to take such a drastic step and stop the process of privatization of the ports in the United States? So all in all, it's important that we look at so many other factors apart from just merely trying to improve and making the port efficient. Like I've said in the previous video, the port of Mombasa is not making any losses. It's not in one of the loss-making parastatals that the government is planning to offload into private sector. The KPA is one of the organizations, government, public facilities that is raking billions and billions in terms of profit for the government. So why do you want to kill the goose that laid the golden eggs? So those are questions that needs to be answered. Maybe those political analysts would like to delve into this deeply. That would give them food for thought. So as we look again into how the process is going to develop, hoping that there'll be no legal issues embroiled in the entire process, litigations and all that. What's for sure, there are people who are opposed to this kind of privatization, and definitely they'll be looking to go to court and seek the court to intervene and stop this process from going to its fruition. Once again, subscribe to my channel, click on the notification, share so that you can be able to reach a bigger audience. Until next time, we meet again in the next video. Thank you very much.